Hey everybody, it's Mike. I got another message for today. It's Sunday, so I got my Ravens shirt on for Sunday for football. They don't play till later this afternoon, but had to get up super early this morning and had to drive all the way down to Gaithersburg, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. And my son had an early morning baseball game, but we had thunderstorms last night, so we get down there and we're sitting there for like a half an hour. They say they're going to postpone the game for an hour, so we had to sit there for like an hour, wait until he could get out to warm up, and then they decide they're going to cancel all the games. So we drove all the way down there, paid all the tolls. I don't even know what that was, probably like $20 in tolls, all the way down and then all the way back. And I guess God had other plans today for what we were going to do. But it all worked out actually because today was the first day that my son came to church with me at the church that I go to. So he got to see what church is like there and got to experience a full celebration. And it was a great message today. The message today was basically what I read my last book about, which was called Following or Practicing the Way. Be like Jesus, follow him, and something else. But basically, the message today at church was be like Jesus. So, in every way. They talked about, sorry, they talked about being a giver versus being a taker. And what was Jesus? Was he a giver or he a taker? If he saw somebody that needed help on the side of the road, did he help them? In his travels, or did he just walk right past them? You know, People that came up to him that begged him to help pray for them and fix them and heal them. He what did he do? He healed them. He prayed for them. He knelt down next to him and talked to him. Like that's what it is giving, not just of money, but giving your time, giving your experience, and even giving your things. And that was kind of crazy today at church. At the end of the message that they were delivering, they talked about the need for, or how we should even be thankful that we have shoes on our feet, and how that there's over 1 million people right now in Kenya that do not have shoes, and all the diseases and things they get on their feet because of the fact that they do not have shoes. So, they said we're actually getting ready to do a drive to send shoes and a bunch of other things over to Kenya. And what we'd like to ask you all to do is take your shoes off and leave your shoes off. And as they were telling us about Kenya, then they said, for those who feel comfortable, for those who feel like they're being called right now by Jesus, to be like Jesus, you can take your shoes and put them at the top of the stage during our final song of the day. And if you feel called to do that, we will take your shoes and we will take them and give them to someone in Kenya, and you will make a difference in the world just by doing that. So it was just awesome to see, the church, and see how many people. I'm gonna say at least 70% of the people that were in there today literally walked out of church with no shoes on and were either in bare feet or in socks, going to their cars in the parking lot because they gave their shoes. And it didn't matter. I mean, people say dress your Sunday best. Some people had their best pair of sneakers on or their best pair of church shoes on, and they still left them. Like, it was amazing. One guy I was talking to, he's like, I only wore those shoes 3 times. He said, but if I'm being called, I'm being called. So that's how the message was today. Is they want they wanted us to be like Jesus and become a giver, and be a giver and not a taker. And not just give for, well, what's going to happen to me if I leave my pair of shoes? Am I going to get blessed with winning the lottery or something like that? No, it's not about that. It's you're being called to give. That's it. Period. You give out of the kindness of your heart, out of the compassion in your heart, out of the goodness in your heart. You know. Now my son, who's younger, he's only 14. He didn't give his shoes, But I'm sure he's gonna tell my wife that I gave my shoes, and she's gonna be like, "What? What do you mean he gave his shoes?" But it's when you're in the moment and you're caught up with everybody else, and you want to be like Jesus, and that's what your goal is, and that's what my goal is. If I have an opportunity to, give up something to help someone else, especially in that type of environment, and where I'm being called, literally called to say, this is your time to step up to the plate and do it. Don't just practice. Don't just talk the talk. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is and practice what you preach. Should do it. And even the preacher for today, even the pastor. He took his shoes off and left them up there too. He was the first one. So practice what you preach. Um, but there was another message that kind of resonated with me last night as I was praying before I went to bed. It was literally, I think it was like the last thing I looked at on social media. It was either a meme or a short video or something, but it said, what did it say? It said, we are we are not human beings going through a spiritual experience. Instead, we are spiritual beings going through a human experience. Wow, that was pretty powerful. When I read that, and I was like, I had to read it like 3 times, and I said, wow, that really makes sense. We're not here on earth as humans. We're actually spiritual beings, and we're having the human experience. So, when you put it in those terms, it kind of makes it look a little different in terms of what your goals are and what your values are and what your end game is here. Because it's not all about just make enough money and have enough money to go to retirement. You know what I mean? And get you into your old age home, and then have somebody take care of you and clean you up and put you in the bathtub every day and wheel you out in the wheelchair to go eat your food. Um, that's not what we're talking about end game wise. We're talking about end game with Jesus. What's the end game with the guy upstairs? And what's the end game with God? Spiritually, what does your end game look like? Not, not human end game. This is just a human experience here. And honestly, I think that statement is also a call for people to um, wake up, like really just wake up um, spiritually, because I think too many people on this earth are just going along their lives, living day to day, doing their things, going here, going there, going to work, and going in their routines, and going to the gym or getting their coffee, or dropping their kids off, and you know going to do your 8 hours and then come home and bitch about your day, and cook your dinner, go to sports practice, or ballet or whatever for the kids, and then maybe get like 30 minutes to yourself to watch some TV, to program yourself with some garbage before you go to bed. I think that a lot of people fall into that category of just kind of, let's call it maybe like going through the motions of life, where you just kind of go through the motions. You just kind of make it through the day. You just kind of make it through the week. You just kind of make it through the weekend. You just kind of make it through the month. And then you just kind of make it through the year. It just kind of happens. And then the next year, you just kind of do the same thing. And you just kind of make it through that too. Only it might be a little bit harder because inflation goes up every year. So now you have more stress. Now you have more anxiety. Now you have more worry. You know, um, and then eventually you wake up at some point and start questioning, am I really doing the right thing? Am I really utilizing my talents and my skills? Am I really being the best person I can be? um, that used to be the slogan of the army, right? Be the best you can be, in the army, or something like that. That was, at least when I was a kid growing up, that's what they used to tell you. But I was always too fat to be in the army because they told me I weighed too much. I couldn't get through basic training. So I kind of got exempt status from all that stuff. The Marines, the Army, all those guys. Um, I was never fit enough, you know. Although I did play sports, which was ironic. Um, but anyway, I digress. Um, so, this whole business about waking up. I think that people are just in these like comatose states, um, where they just are just and they're just born into it through no fault of their own, because they're born into it from their parents who are also in the comatose states, and they were probably also raised by their parents who were in the comatose states. At some point, I'm sure you find somebody way back when in your lineage that actually was somewhat spiritual and did go to church and did believe, because way back in the day, everybody was spiritual. That's what everything was based on, was God. God was everything. You look at the founding fathers of this country. All the principles, all the Declaration of Independence, and all that stuff was spiritually God based writings and teachings and things. And if you read what the words actually are on a lot of those documents from the historical days, you will see that God is in there, you know. But it's funny because even though God is in there, it's like we don't act like He's in there now. We have Congress, and we have the government, the way it works and everything, and God couldn't be farther from government the way it is today. And that's one of the big problems that we have today. God needs to be involved. He needs to be involved in everything. You know, um, not to pick sides here on the election, but you need to have a candidate that is a strong believer in God, um, and we need him. We need God. Because whoever the candidate would be doesn't necessarily matter. As long as God's there, because God's much higher up the food chain than any person that's just running as a human, you know, or even a spiritual person running as a president or whatever. And we should apply the same principles, to that position that we apply to other positions in Congress, in the House and the Senate. You know, the people that have been there forever, are they spiritual? Are they God fearing people? Let's look at their past records. Let's look at what they've done. Let's look at, maybe we make it a law that we can see what their tax records are, if you can already. I don't know if you can or not. But, take a look at their charitable contributions and what they've actually given to charity, or what they say they've given to charity, you know? And, I think it's important to know where their stance is on God and heaven and hell, and maybe have a little discussion about that stuff. Maybe have debates about that stuff. Maybe campaign and run on some of that stuff. You know, um, because that's what's important. And all these shootings that we hear about at these schools across our nation, they all seem to happen in public schools, or let's just call them, what should we call them? Government funded schools, because that sounds better, doesn't it? Government funded schools, not public schools. They're government funded schools. But it's like, so what do they not have in them? They do not have God in them. But yet you have all the shootings at the government funded schools, you know? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't even remember the last time I heard of a shooting at a private school, that was non government funded, because the majority of those schools have God in it. My kids in particular have to buy a Bible just to attend school at those schools. So, I just have a hard time with the whole no God in the school thing, because I just feel like if he was in the schools, if more people would wake up, realize they need God in their life, Then they wake up and they realize, well, maybe I need to vote for people that have God in their life. And then maybe I need to wake up and realize that, I'm raising my kids and they probably need God in their life too. So why don't we wake them up when they're young, and then maybe we'll actually have a generation that can take care of the generation before them, because they'll have a good spiritual foundation of values and knowledge and core beliefs and just being good people. Be like Jesus. We need to teach these kids, be like Jesus. We need to teach these adults that are just waking up, be like Jesus. You know, we need to teach the school staff and the school teachers, to be like Jesus. Everybody needs to learn how to be like Jesus. You know, and and this just goes. It's the far-reaching effects of this. Would change majority of the problems in this country. And if it didn't change it, don't you think that God would step in and say, all right, well, this is something that needs to be changed. I'm just going to make it happen because I have so many people that are believing in me and so many people that are following my way and my teachings and following Jesus and listening to the Holy Spirit that they have inside of them, because everybody has the Holy Spirit inside of them. Every single person has the Holy Spirit inside of you. Everybody does. You just have to activate it. You just have to turn it on. You just have to flick the switch. And the way to flick the switch is to pray and talk to God and talk to Jesus, you know, and tell him how much you love him and tell him how much you believe in him and tell him how much you trust him and tell him how much you want to listen to him and you want them to guide you, to show you the way that you need to be and how you need to act and react, and and be more of a giver and not a taker, you know and improve yourself, improve your quality of life, improve your character, improve your overall self-development, you know just improve yourself as a person, and become more of a light to shine on this earth. The more you learn from God and the more you learn from Jesus, the bigger your light gets, the bigger your shine is. And then what's amazing with that is you attract more people. It's like I had an old secretary that used to say this at my probation job. You now, Mike. Mike. You attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar, and it's the truth. It's the truth, and you attract more people with God inside of you and God in your heart and that light and that power and that energy and that aura about you. And just you want that light, man, because that light just beams out of your eyes. It just beams out of your eyes, and people just are just attracted to it. And I can't tell you how many times I'm just out and about and I just get people walking up to me and they just start talking to me, telling me stuff, and we just get in a conversation about anything. Anything. Sometimes it's I feel rude because I got to go and I can't sit there and keep going with the conversation because they just want to keep going. They ain't going to leave. So I have to figure out a way to positively end the conversation without offending them, that I have to go, and it's like I said, sometimes that's hard. But God, I mean, I just imagine of a country and a state of Maryland that I live in, and even just a city like Baltimore, to be able to just go around, walk around downtown, take my kids to the Ravens games, take my kids to the Orioles games, not be completely, just be completely, raped over, extorted over fees to parking garages and everything else, where it costs me, so much ridiculous amounts of money to go to a baseball game or a football game, where I can actually spend some quality time with my family and feel safe, you know. And when I walk into the stadium, not have like 80 or so homeless people that I pass along the way back to my car, because it's just so bad downtown with the way the homelessness is. And I really think if we had God in everybody's hearts, it would be so much different. It would just be so much different. Um, Instead of people worrying about themselves, they'd be worrying about other people and trying to help other people out. And that's what's gonna kind of help with, getting the most vulnerable people into places where they can get things that they need. They can truly get help with getting a job and getting an education and getting, I mean, getting just having God would change people's lives, you know. So bring them to the juvenile detention facilities. Have somebody there to teach people that, and read the Bible to the kids. Like that's important, Um, just introduce God to people at all levels. You know, um, the prisons and jails should have the same thing. Bibles, and I know they do, but they need to have people in there teaching in there, um, that they can understand. Because not everybody in there can read. So that's just my 2 cents. I just think people. It starts with regular everyday people waking up and realizing that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. It's a big difference. We're spiritual people. We are spiritually connected to the source, to God, to the creator of us and of the universe and everything else that we love, like the birds we're listening to in the background chirping. You know, we are connected. Every one of us is connected, even to the animals. We are all connected. We are His creation. And we're His creation through the Spirit. Through the Spirit. That's how we're connected. And if we can connect with each other on a spiritual level and all be on a positive spiritual level, this life could be amazing for everyone. But that's the challenge. It's picking people up out of their ruts, out of their routines, out of their regular lives, out of their stubbornness and unwillingness to change, and make a positive difference. If you're looking, I know it's not January yet, I know it's not December, but if you're looking for a New Year's resolution for yourself, how about put more Jesus and God in your life? That's what your resolution should be. And if you stick with that, I mean, there's no way you fail at your resolution, because the minute you start, you're going to get hooked, and then you're just going to do it more and more and more, and you're gonna love it. And it's going to become part of your life, part of your routine. Start praying. Pray in the morning. Pray at night. You're sitting at your desk during the day and you're just bored. Pray then. What should I be doing right now? Show me something else that I should be doing right now. And you'll be surprised. Your phone will ring, you get an email, something will ding, somebody will walk in your office, something will happen, and the next thing you know, you're on to your next thing. You're not just sitting there in total boredom. You know, it's amazing how things work if you just try to work them. But if you don't try to work them, then you're just gonna be sitting there. And you're gonna be reacting to life instead of being more proactive to life. You know, and being out there ready, being like a firefighter or a police officer who's always on call, like ready to go. You don't know what's coming next. You don't know what your next mission's going to be. I didn't know that I'd be leaving church today with no shoes on, but that's what happened. God wanted me to leave my shoes along with everybody else who was at church today. So we did. 70% of us left our shoes on the stage. And it was an amazing sight to see. But see, you just don't know what to expect. You don't know how you're going to be called. You don't know where it's going to come from. And that's the beauty of it. But that's the excitement of it too. That's what I love about my day. Every day is different. Every day I get to experience is different. But I just like living in the spiritual world. Um, and just living through my spirit, living through my Holy Spirit that's inside of me, and letting my spirit dictate what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do, and also help me with my values and help me with any questions I have along the way of, should I do this, shouldn't I do that, you know, that when you don't know, you just go right to the Spirit. Go right to the Spirit. That'll tell you every time. And it'll usually say, would Jesus do that? And if the answer is no, then just don't do it. Don't do it. No, then it's no. Because your goal is to be like Jesus. And if you just keep following that goal, I have told you guys time and time and time again on here that you will live in a world full of nothing but peace and tranquility and bliss and calmness and just an absolute joy. I mean, the old Mike would have been so pissed off today when I drove all the way down an hour and a half away from my son to play baseball, waited in the car for another half an hour, so that's now 2 hours, and find out that he's not playing today, and then had to drive an hour and a half back. Where the new Mike said, all right, well, what time is it? Well, we can probably squeeze in church. So I start saying to my son, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might have church. They had a 9:45 session, and then they had an 11 o'clock or 11:30 session. So he says, "Well, I'm with you, Dad. I'll go to church." I said, "Okay, cool." And he'd never been to the new church with me, so see how that worked. God's plan today for me was to sacrifice a little bit of my money, which actually is not my money, it's his money, and my time, which was my gas and my tolls, and then my actual physical time to go down there and come back. In exchange, I got to spend a day in church with my son, which is what I've been wanting for my whole family to go to church with me at my new church, my Christian church. Um, for months, but we just haven't been able to connect on a time or place to work because I usually go to the real early mass and they all want to sleep in. So this was just like a blessing in disguise, and God designed it today to say, all right, today's the day. Today you got your son to go to church with you. What a blessing that was. So I got a blessing there. My son got to see me give my shoes up. That's another blessing to see that I'm not just preaching, I'm actually practicing what I preach, and I'm doing the work, and I'm putting my shoes up there and I'm turning them in. Now, dealing with my wife is a whole nother story because I think she actually bought the shoes that I gave away, my flip flops that I had on. So we'll have to talk to her later about that. But, all in all, today was a win. It was a win, and but the old Mike would have been so mad and yelling and dropping the f-bomb and cussing and throwing stuff and beeping the horn at people on the road and driving like a maniac and just being so mad and upset about the fact that he had to drive all the way down there, and it would have borderline ruined my day. And I would have had a meltdown on the phone with my wife, and I would have yelled at her, probably put her in a bad mood. My son would have witnessed that, so then he would have seen me yelling at my wife, which is not a good thing either. And then, I've been yelling at him too, probably, so that would put her in a bad mood with that. But instead, because of the way I am now, I acted differently, and I looked at a different angle, and my son wound up going to church with me today. So see, that's how you can be if you just see the way Jesus would react to certain things and situations, and know that not everything's always going to work out the way you planned it. And you know why? It's because you really aren't in any control at all of your life. You don't plan anything. You can have whatever plans you want to have in the world, it doesn't matter. Because if God has other plans that He wants, then that's what's going to happen. He'll just make it happen. So that's what happened to me today. So in any event, Hopefully, some of this opens your eyes to the experience that we live spiritually. We do not live as humans, and you know, you need to wake up and you need to realize that, and you need to bring yourself closer to Jesus and closer to God through the Holy Spirit, which you already have, which you're already in possession of, and you know, just got to take advantage of it. You know, so I hope everybody found something in this video that they liked. If you did, you know, click the like button on the thumbs up, or give me a comment, or you know, share this on social media with anybody else you might see that might benefit from, you know, the fact of knowing that we are spiritual beings, and that's what we're here for. We're here to bring the spirit back, and bring the positive spirit back, and change not just this country, but eventually change the whole world, you know, through a positive spirit, you know, because that's what it's all about, having that positive spirit. All right, take care. I love everybody. God bless you all. Thanks for watching this video and taking the time out of your day. Bye.